Alright guys, so I got another video here. So funny thing, I mean not really funny, but I think I mentioned before I was going to do some switches here to toggle my top light bar, and then I have this other one over here which does my the middle section light bar. Now, because I knew I was going to do the switches eventually, I just got lazy. I ended up having this hang here, and what happened was it slid off when I was shutting my door, and I guess at some point smashed this piece because it doesn't click anymore, and I mean it's kind of beat up a little bit. You can't visually see it, but it feels a little bit more flat, and it doesn't click or anything. So what I'm gonna do is just go ahead, cut this piece off, see the wires, and test out my switches, which I have over here. I got a bunch of these switches on Amazon for like $8, and they give you like 5 of them, but they look like they're pretty decent quality. Sound pretty nice. I don't know if that matters or not. But then they also have these covers, which I've seen on like a lot of like trailers, the ones that have the built-in jack systems to protect from like the weather and rain and elements and stuff like that. So like I said, I'm gonna chop that piece up and then see when I hook it up, just to make sure it works and make sure there wasn't any weird specialty wiring in there that would make it not work, or if it pinched somewhere else, I guess we'll discover that. So I'm gonna go ahead, chop it, and temporarily hook this up, and then as long as that works, I will pull the bezel off of the dash and then start kind of, you know, drilling holes to place these in to kind of. So I have my 2 little connectors here, which, you know, once I cut this, I'll be able to see what's hot and what's ground. And then you know, I just want to use this as a mock-up to make sure everything's going to work the way I want it to. And then, like I said, we'll go from there and start cutting this piece up and mounting everything nice. So with this, it's got 3 wires, and I know one of them will actually light this up to let you know red if it's off and green if it's on. So realistically, I'm only going to be using 2, and if I had to guess, it's probably black and red, and then this is our power for the LED in there. So let's just kind of mock this up and see how it works. So in theory, if we had this connected, bring them out a little bit more. So let's say we've got our ground in here, and then we're going to go ahead and put power wire to this bottom one. Damn it, that does not want to stay. All right, let's temporarily do it like this then. Okay, that took a minute because I was confused. So black, I think, is our wire for what was originally the LED light on this thing. So we know that, I don't know if you'll see this. Yeah, so that's our main 12 volt source. And then red is actually our ground. So when we hook it up, I have an idea. I'll be able to show you. Okay, so I wanted to show you that I've got this all mocked up. I'm gonna tidy it up in a little bit, but just wanted to show you that it's off right now. Light bar's off. And then we're gonna flick that into the on position. Boom, there we go, so off and on. So I'm not gonna assume that it's the same exact wiring and color scheme as that one, but it literally is. But we're just gonna treat it as if it was something different, so we make sure we 100% wire it up right. So I'll do that as soon as I get all this off and kind of figure out how I'm gonna place them. And realistically, what I'd like to do is 3 spots. So like my main light bar for the top one, the small middle light bar that's on the brush guard, and then over here I'd like to do some fog lights or some kind of extra auxiliary lights that I can actually use for driving that won't necessarily blind people. I'm gonna go ahead and snatch all of that off and then unplug the little connector back here, and then we'll get to measuring and drilling. Keep forgetting that whenever you want to remove this fully, it gets hung up on the column, so we actually have to put it into gear. Set the parking brake, and just kind of put it as low as we can, I guess. That way, it should, actually I'm lying to you. Well, not completely lying, we did have to do that. I'm gonna use 2 hands so I don't break this real quick. Okay, so fun fact, if I didn't use 2 hands to kind of help pry this up and then get a screwdriver back there, just to lightly press up on this top part here, it would have definitely broke. Because I can see, I think, when I was messing with it last time, it's starting a little bit of a crack up top there. I don't know if it'll focus on it. It doesn't want to stay in one piece for too much longer, so I'm just gonna unhook this stuff. That way we'll have this clean slate to work with. And then, like I said, measure where we want to drill through on the back here. I'm gonna have to pull the wiring from this one and run it up through this tiny hole here. And then I'm gonna run this back through the firewall. And I wasn't able to get that through the firewall at first because this is way too wide. But being that I'm just literally sticking this portion through that's connected to the switch, it'll be super easy just to feed through that little hole in there and then route directly behind it. This little dude was not easy to get to. You kind of had to sneak your flathead in there. Actually, I did it from this side over here. Did it from this side over here and just really kind of twisted it and then was able to pull it up. This one was kind of the same deal. They've been on here forever and probably never, ever, ever taken off. This one I already have loose, but you can see it's on there pretty good. So I'm just gonna come over to each side here and just kind of wiggle it. And if I was using both hands, I'd be obviously twisting it and pulling. Actually, I'm gonna do that because I just pulled something apart. Okay, so that leaves us with this whole piece. And originally I wanted to run something over here because there's a lot more space. It made sense to me over on this side just because, you know, your light switch is here, your dimmer's here. This is for the cargo light. So why not have more lighting stuff here instead of spread all the way over there? And it's definitely easier to reach over here with your left hand than kind of over here, just in my experience, just because you have your shifter over there, and then I obviously have that phone mount, so my hand kind of gets in the way. Or not my hand, but that's kind of in the way from, you know, putting your hand in that direction. But I just think it makes more sense to have your central lighting right there. Our next step is going to be to find the drill bit that's as close or perfect to this size here as the threads. That way, only that part is sticking through. And then, I don't know if I'm gonna run this little plate cover or not. I guess we'll see. But all you have to do is make sure that this sticks through so that you're actually able to thread that nut back on the side. The easiest way to do this, in my opinion, is to do what I did and just unscrew this top nut and then start feeding your drill bits through the open end of the nut and just kind of see what you'll need to use for good size reference. So after looking at it a couple times, the best way I'm going to be able to do this is just to run 2 switches here. So I'm going to do that so not everything's super cluttered. And then if I want to tie 2 together, I could always do that. Or whenever I do my, what do you call them? The fog lights, I could always tie that in with my low beams if I wanted, or, you know, whatever. I'll figure it out. And plus it'll give me a chance to go back, and if I feel like it needs to be tidied up, I could always do that. Or we could reroute it over there if need be. But yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and put the 2 there for the big and small light bar, and then we'll get everything mounted up, see how it fits, make sure they all work, and kind of judge it from there. That looks kind of exactly where I want it. And remember, always start smaller or else you'll have everything start chopping up if you start with the bigger one. So now that I've got that opened up, I'm gonna go ahead and take the bigger drill bit and kind of bore it out and then mount it up and then do the second hole. Okay, so I actually had to bore it out a little bit bigger than I had originally thought, but man, that thing looks sweet. Nice. Now I'm gonna go ahead and make the other pilot hole and then drill that one out. That way I can just load up the other one, load them up. That way I can just put the other one in and then worry about the wiring at the end before putting the bezel back on. Good God. All right, there's the finished product for both of them. Nice and clicky. And then now we just have to do the fun part, the wiring. So I'm gonna go ahead, cut the other one, and obviously route this one back up, and then tie it all together and we should be good to go. And I would just like to note that this is definitely coming back out at some point because I would like to paint it. I'm probably not gonna restore it as far as like, you know, either finding another one or trying to match the color. I think honestly it would just need a good clean because there's not really any dings or any scratches. I mean, there's 2 brand new holes in it, but there's yeah, it's pretty perfect in my opinion, other than that slight crack up top I was showing you earlier. But I just think the kind of grayish look is outdated. I might get another switch that's not faded, or maybe find a sticker or something for that, I don't know. I do like having that instead of it being completely blacked out, but even black toggles would be cool. Or not toggles, but I guess you could call this a toggle, and then the wheel. But I would probably either dip this carbon fiber or paint it black. But yeah, I just wanted to make a note of that this will definitely be coming back out. So for anyone who's curious, there's a little grommet in the firewall that I actually ran my first light bar down. I don't know how easy it's gonna be to see, but I used the same hole down there and just fed it through, which is what you're gonna see laying on the floor right there. And maybe not, but anyways, the other one runs up here, and then I have it zip tied to a couple things, and then it runs over into that little switch. So basically, I'm gonna cut some zip ties, bring everything over here, feed it up through this hole, which has all our main harness for the switch, and then just tie it in and put everything back together. Just wanted to show that's one side fed through. It wasn't too difficult. You just have to kind of reach your fingers down here and feed up from this side, and then just try and grab it with your right hand or left hand or whatever. Now I'm gonna chop that one up and then fish them over here and then plug them up. I'm actually glad this happened because this shows us a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier. We've got different colors here. Now, if I were a betting man, I would guess it's the same kind of deal, where black is gonna be for, what did we say that was? For the light, the LED light on the switch, and then our blue and white are gonna be used. I don't wanna assume anything. I'd rather check. So I'm gonna grab my test light and then just see what's up with it. Yep, so blue's our power, and then I believe the white's gonna be our ground. Actually, another way we can check too, I don't know if you heard those clicking, but that creates the circuit, so we know we're good there. Okay, now I have everything wired the way I want it to. Getting them onto there and then trying to tighten down the screws is gonna be the hardest part, but that's why I have this little tiny bit driver. So I hope that fits in there. If not, I'll have to go good old fashioned way and grab some like needle nose and tighten it. But I'm gonna try and fiddle with that and then piece everything back together, test the functionality, and that should be good. Man, so I just went through all that to realize that I never fed this middle light bar wiring up through this hole here. So now I gotta take all this shit apart and reroute it. This will be fun. All right guys, so that's pretty much a wrap. Got the bezel back on it, the switch is installed. Now, these sit a little crooked, but the orientation is straight up and down, which is awesome. So I'm either thinking I'll remove these tabs that just say on and off, or I will try and find a way to position them. I kind of think they look a little silly, but we'll see. Oh, you know what else I forgot? These little boots or nipples or whatever you want to call them, which I think help it make it look a little bit better. Oh, you know what? That's actually not going to go on unless I take these off. So that's honestly what I'm probably gonna do. I might rock it like that just for a little bit, just to get used to it and everything and whatever have you. Or actually what I could do is maybe I'll install these. I'll remove that and install these once I black out everything. I was trying to wait for it to get a little bit darker before continuing this next part, but obviously it's gonna be hard to see in here. But I think you saw in the clip before, so flick them on, and you can see lights up, and then the big one lights up. Sweet. It's nice to have that big one again because sometimes on the way home, some of the drives in the back roads are completely black outside, and that's hardly enough. I mean, this is my little light bar, so it helps a little bit, but the big one really just helps see everything. But that's all I wanted to do in this little project for today. I've been wanting to do the toggle switches for a while. Ever since I broke the thing in the door, it gave me a reason to speed up on this, so pretty stoked about it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Ooh, we got the nipple.